Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Ajoe21love. Here back today on the podcast with episode 97 of Sports Overview Topics. We're in a interesting time as far as sports is concerned. Thursday is the NFL draft for the year 2022. Interesting build up here as we get ready for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the whole 3-day spiel of the NFL draft. Of course, the draft, we know that not everyone is going to pan out. Not everyone is going to have a great career in the NFL, but it's always intriguing. It's always intriguing to see who ends up where, which teams have optimism, and just, because a couple years ago, we didn't get a trade in the first round, but there's always a chance that a team makes a big trade or that, you know, has a team mulling over the effects of the trade in years to come. We saw with the RG3 trade a decade ago. Last year, the Mitchell Trubisky trade, last year with Justin Fields and Trey Lance. Trey Lance is more nobly with how many picks that San Francisco forked over, etc. But I'll begin my final mock draft as we gear towards the draft on Thursday, or starting on Thursday. The NBA playoffs is really picked up as of this weekend. Some good stuff. Really tight series, especially in the East. 3 of the 4 playoff series after 4 games are 2 apiece. And give my thoughts on those, as well as Deebo Samuel trade request, Tyson Fury, Marcus Smart, and much more. But thank you all for joining me. If you're new to the podcast and you want to see more sports review topics, find those on the homepage, as well as the like button is there in the opposite corner for a thumbs up. But thank you all for joining me. Let's get to it, shall we? So, first I want to dive in really quick because I know with my first mock draft, I took a bit of time, and with this final mock draft here, I did make, when assessing this mock draft, I feel it was much better than my last one. And so a bunch of adjustments have been made, but I won't go in too depth like last time. Just maybe give a few notes about each pick, but let's get to it. So, the Jaguars, last time I had them taking a Hutchinson. Here's the same, not much to be said there. At number 2 with the Lions, here with the change. Trayvon Walker. Last time I had them taking Kayvon Thibodeau. This time, with this recent mock draft, I have them taking Trayvon Walker out of Georgia. Trayvon Walker had a great combine. A great combine which really boosts his stock. Thibodeau, you're, you're hearing the reports. I mean, yes, he should be a top 3 pick. But when you hear the reports about questions about his work ethic on every play, you know that, I mean, we'll see on draft night, but when you hear about that and we hear consideration about certain executives, you're like, well, But yeah, I got Trayvon Walker, number 2, to the Lions. At number 3, I guys with the Lions, their first pick of first round, the Texans have them taking offensive tackle or offensive lineman Ikem Ikwanu of NC State. Texans could really use a guy on the O-line to help out Laremy Tunsil and help out Davis Mills' development. And when I was assessing the first 2 picks of the Texans, I was like, okay, offense, defense, who's going to be there? But yeah, I'm taking McConnell at number 3. Number 4, Say Sam Pat for the Jets. Haven't taken Sauce Gardner, Ahmad Gardner, Cincinnati cornerback. I will say I love Stingley, and but McDuffie, he's good as well. But yeah, I still haven't taken Sauce at 4. At number 5, a change here. Safety Kyle Hamilton, for the Giants, their first pick in the top 10. Have taken Kyle Hamilton out of Notre Dame. Kyle Hamilton has gotten a lot of flack over his combine performance, over his 40 time, but he's still one of the best players in the draft. And, all around safety, they compare him with Xavier McKinney. I think they still have Bradbury. I'm not sure, but I have to check. Or actually, I think he went somewhere else. But nonetheless, great pickup, good pickup for Giants in their first pick. Panthers at 6. I don't know. We always say that it's not a great quarterback draft, but then or great, at this position, but there's always someone that values someone more than another team. So I still have Panthers taking at 6. Kenny Pickett at Pitt. 7, Giants' second pick. I'm sure some are thinking perhaps Panthers at 6 would take Charles Cross out of Mississippi State, and my bad for leaving him off the first mock draft, but I have the Giants taking him here. Charles Cross, tackle out of Mississippi State. We've said a bunch about the Giants. Their O-line needs to be better. I mean, whether it's Shane Lamo, I like him. Whether it's Price or Gates, Thomas, Solder, etc. They need a fix, and Cross, I think, can help if you want to give Daniel Jones that last chance. 8, a little bit of change, but still same position. Falcons, I haven't taken Drake London, different receiver out of USC. Had him taking Garrett Wilson, but here have to think about it. Perhaps Drake London, pairing him with him and Kyle Pitts for Marcus Mariota, or if they get a quarterback, I think it'd be a good fit. At 9, I still have the Seahawks taking Evan Neal out of Alabama. You know, we said a lot about the O-line for the Seahawks and a rebuild, although they do have some nice alignment. They do have, Damian Lewis, Jones is good, Dwayne Brown, he's kind of at the back 9 of his career, but he's still stable. But Evan Neal would definitely help for that O-line. 10, this where Kayvon Thibodeau's fall drops. I have the Jets taking Kayvon Thibodeau at 10 with their second overall pick. Some have him taking a receiver. I mean, this draft is kind of deep with receivers. So I think they got to fix that defense, really. And I mean, Sauce and Thibodeau, of course, just getting Sauce would be an upgrade, but getting Thibodeau as well, maybe a bit of a reach at 10, as in him falling to 10, but still be great for both sides. So I basically traded Walker and Thibodeau today, but yeah. At 11, I have the Washington Commanders taking Derek Stingley out of LSU. He's a wild card, I will say. We'll see how he fares coming out of draft. 12, I have the Vikings taking Jordan Davis out of Georgia. Guy that had another great combine. I mean, 4.78 40 could really help that interior of the defense. Losing Pierce, Everson Griffin, that situation. Daniel Hunter, his injury status definitely helped their defense. Although they did get Dalvin Tomlinson, but yeah. 13. Some might think it's a reach, but I think it'd be a good fit. Texans taking Jermaine Johnson out of Florida State, edge rusher. Some might have him at the end of the first round, in the second, but Jermaine Johnson is an athlete. He's a specimen. I mean, Florida State, and you need playmakers to help this rebuild for the Texans, and he'd be a good guy for it. 14, got the Ravens selecting Garrett Wilson. I'll say, the Ravens were obviously tricky, but I mean, Lamar Jackson with his contract uncertain, getting a wide receiver to pair with Hollywood Brown, Rashad Bateman, and and Mark Andrews would be interesting. Would be interesting. So then, 14, the first of two. Because, last time the Eagles had two or three first overall picks, but with trade with the Saints, they have two. Have them taking Devin Lloyd out of Utah. They need help at linebacker on defense, and Devin Lloyd would be a solid fit for the Eagles. So then the Saints, now with their first of two picks, have them taking Trevor Penning out of Northern Iowa. They lost Armstead to the Dolphins. Good guy fill in, pair with Ryan Ramczyk, who's great on the right side. Would definitely be a help to Jameis Winston or whoever they also decide to pick up at quarterback. 17, Devontae Wyatt out of Georgia. He would be a great, if he managed to fall here. Last year we didn't expect Rashawn Slater to fall to the Chargers, but he did. Devontae Wyatt, what was the number one issue Chargers defense last season? Run defense. And they did pick up Joseph Day from the Rams. And they got Tillery, they got Joseph, but you need to get better. Devontae Wyatt would definitely help. Then with the second of the Eagles pick, I got George Karlaftis. Karlaftis. Sorry if I butchered the name, but edge rusher out of Purdue. Derek Barnett has not been who I think the Eagles thought he would be. And, to put some pressure on Barnett, how about with that? Because the interior is fairly good, very solid with Fletcher Cox and Hargrave. But adding Karlaftis to the scheme be good for both parties. Now with the Saints' second pick, I got Jameson Williams out of Alabama. Now, there is optimism that he can play this season, despite tearing his ACL in the national championship game against Georgia. So, with that uneasy feeling, you can probably say, well, if he can play for certain, he's a top 10 guy. But, this draft is deep in wide receivers. And with that uncertainty of how much are you willing to wait for a receiver. But Jameson Williams, Saints, with Michael Thomas coming back, be good for both sides. Now, last time I had the Steelers taking Matt Corral at 20. Yeah, that was not good. Probably not good. So I have them taking Malik Willis out of Liberty. You know, I did not see as much Malik Willis as I did in the last couple weeks, and I can see that you know he's sturdy. Labeled as 6 foot. You know, he's got a heck of an arm. You know, he can run very well, and sitting behind Mitchell Trubisky, I think the styles mesh up well. Malik Willis is probably more mobile and has a better arm, but I mean, we'll see with Mitchell Trubisky for the Steelers, but Malik Willis, I got the Steelers taken. At 21, now, at this spot for the Patriots, I was thinking McDuffie, with them losing J.C. Jackson and all that stuff. I think with Bill Belichick and the Patriots, it's going to be a pick that, you know, catches us a bit off guard. Usually. I mean, Mac Jones felt him last year, but I mean, now with going into year 2 with Mac Jones, I think this probably a good pick for to protect Mac Jones. Kenyon Green, Texas A&M, offensive lineman, guard. You know, Isaiah Wynn has been injury prone. You know, of course, we lost Tooney last year to the Chiefs. Ted Karras now to the Bengals. You know, did resign Trent Brown, but that left guard position is kind of so and so. But Kenny Green, drafting him, be a good fit, keeping Mac Jones upright. Packers, I have them taking the Kobe Dean with their first overall pick. Be heck of a guy for the Packers. Great balls to the wall linebacker. You know, lost to Darius Smith. You know, probably not the production of Zadarius Smith as he was for the Packers now with the Patriots. But I mean, him, Preston Smith, yeah, can be something else. And then Rashawn Gary's emergence, yeah. Then with the Cardinals next, although like with James Williams, there's optimism with him, but David Ajoe for the Cardinals, I think they can kind of take that chance, with losing Chandler Jones. I mean, could be a good fit. Could be a good fit, because you can't just count on J.J. Watt on that defensive line to be healthy. So, David Ajoe, you know, see how he is in his recovery from his torn Achilles, but we'll see. Be a good fit in the desert. 24. I mean, just falls in Cowboys' laps. Trent McDuffie, corner out of Washington. Pair with Trayvon Diggs. You know, who had obviously 11 interceptions last season. You know, him and Diggs on defense, be a good fit, I think, for the Cowboys. 25. I have been taking Khalil Elam out of Florida. You know, big long corner, pair him with Tre'Davious White, who's come back from a torn ACL, can just be a good fit for the Bills and Buffalo. Titans, I have them taking Zion Johnson out of Boston College, 26. Zion played with Mike Vrabel's son, and there's that connection. I mean, the Titans need offensive line help. I think that was also apparent last season. Now losing Saffold, don't have Conklin, obviously lost them to Browns, but yeah, their offensive line, the depth was really tested last season. So Zion Johnson would be, I think, a quality pick for them. Buccaneers at 27, have them taking Andrew Booth at Clemson, corner. Kind of a late first, early second, but they did re-sign Carlton Davis, but I mean, the Achilles heel of the Buccaneers defense the last couple seasons has been their secondary. So Booth, opposite of Davis, would work. 28 probably won't happen, but when it's lined up, Packers saying Chris Olave out of Ohio State. Olave has really come on strong the last couple of years at Ohio State. Packers obviously have a huge hole at wide receiver, though they did pick up Sammy Watkins, but yeah, they need help. 29 and 30 for the Chiefs. Okay. Really could have done it either way with back-to-back picks, but for their first pick at 29, have them taking Daxton Hill, defensive back out of Michigan. And then at 30, kind of a sleeper, but Christian Watson out of North Dakota State. 6'4", tall guy. I mean, ran a 4.36. I mean, to replace Tyreek Hill, I mean, they do have Juju and they signed Scantling, but they need help at the receiver position because that wide receiver room was just ravaged in free agency. 31. I mean, this a safe pick, but worthy pick for the Bengals. 31, having them taking Tyler Lindenbaum out of Iowa. Rated the number one center in the draft. Could place anywhere, but from my experience watching Karras and New England, Karras probably works at the left guard position most. So then, if Lindenbaum falls to the Bengals, perhaps they can place Lindenbaum at center, Kappa at his usual position, and then Lyle Collins at right tackle. Just be good. Or Jackson Carman. I mean, it could really help them out with their depth. Be good for protecting Joe Burrow. Then at 32, you know, first I thought about was, but then I saw, well, maybe goofball with error with Kenny Pickett twice. So then, okay, a quarterback to develop behind Jared Goff, Matt Corral is my last pick of the first round for the Lions. So there's that, my updated mock draft and my final mock draft for 2022 NFL draft. I do think it was better. I do think it was better than last one's, but we'll see how accurate or inaccurate it is on Thursday. Speaking of the NFL, Deebo Samuel, the all-star wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers, has requested a trade out of San Francisco going into his final year of his rookie deal. You know, Deebo did it all, last season for the Niners. I mean, I said before, if it wasn't for Cooper Kupp, Deebo Samuel would have been my offensive player of the year. Just what he did, as a running back, as a wide receiver, just exploded last season. He, you know, he's one of those receivers, especially in Kyle Shannon's system. He has really been multi-dimensional. And I mean, because he's got that frame. He's got that frame to be, a specimen of a running back, but also as a very good wide receiver. And with the reports that he's possibly requested a trade because of his running, and of course we know running backs, their shelf life is less than a wide receiver. Plus, with the rules played in by the NFL for wide receivers, instead of running backs, it makes sense for Deebo. Now, there are some interesting places now out there that could use him because there he won't have his. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo, his contract, I'm sure with the 49ers' eyes, with John Lynch and Kyle Shannon, they probably went into the Trey Lance trade last year thinking, okay, we're going to mortgage these picks, get Trey Lance, sit him behind Garoppolo for a year, and then next year we'll probably get another couple picks back for Garoppolo. And, that will kind of ease things a bit in San Fran. But Garoppolo continues to be on the 49ers roster. And, it's kind of fluctuated and put a damper on their salary cap and them paying a few of their stars. Deebo Samuel, Nick Bosa, who they did exercise his 5th-year option today, but still, they got to work out a new deal for Bosa. And I mean, it's just a lot of places could use Deebo, whether it be the Jets, Packers, Chiefs, Patriots, etc. Their 49ers will not have a problem with getting a market, I don't think, for Deebo. But do they want to trade him? I'm not sure, but we'll see. With the NBA playoffs underway, we had some NBA awards be awarded over the weekend. Not all, but some. And interesting outcomes. So, first for Rookie of the Year. So, the 3 finalists for NBA Rookie of the Year were Scottie Barnes of the Raptors, Cade Cunningham of the Pistons, #1 overall pick from last year, and Evan Mobley from the Cavaliers. Ultimately, Scottie Barnes for the Raptors, who has stepped on by Joel Embiid the first game of the series against Sixers. Won Rookie of the Year. Good showing by Barnes, this season, averaging nearly 15 points a game. Barnes had a good season. I'm not sure if he deserved it. I mean, I wonder if the fact that he was the only, or he was on the only playoff team of the 3, I wonder if that influenced the decision a bit, because the Cavaliers were doing very good, and then they lost to the Nets, lost to the Hawks, and both playing games and on the outside looking in. Mobley had a very good season as well. He was one of the pivotal parts for the Cavs' success for the season, along with Darius Garland, along with Kevin Love. They just had they were a great story this year that ultimately fell short of the playoffs, and that unfortunate. Cade Cunningham, was the only of the 3 that averaged over 20 points a game. He had a soft start, but towards the end of the season, he really came on strong. And then, but I can see why Barnes won it. Ultimately, all 3 rookies had solid showings, but congrats to Barnes. Marcus Smart, one of the Celtics, won NBA Defensive Player of the Year. The 3 finalists were him, Rudy Gobert, and Mikal Bridges. Now, Rudy Gobert has really taken a hold on this award the last couple of years for the NBA. And, he still had another hell of a year. Mikal Bridges as well. Hats off to him and what he's done for Phoenix this season. Of course, people scratch their heads about Giannis I mean, I can understand that, but he's also up for MVP, so there's that. But good for Marcus Smart. He's been one of the stellar parts for the Celtics this year, obviously, with you know Jason Tatum. Sorry, blanked out for that, but Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, those three have been exceptional for Celtics this season and a big part of why they're in the playoffs. And yeah, good for Smart. I will give my quick thoughts because currently the Celtics are playing the Nets. Nuggets avoided a sweep last night versus the Warriors, but give my quick thoughts on all the series thus far. I would say that for the Hawks and the Heat, you know, Heat took a 3-1 lead yesterday. Jimmy Butler's been playing great. You know, the Trae Young's been pretty pedestrian this series. I mean, he had 8 points, I believe, in game one. He had 9 points in yesterday's game versus the Heat and dismantling. So, I mean, 24-point game. The Heat won by, I mean, despite no Kyle Lowry, no problem. The Miami Heat are deep. And a big reason why I have them representing the East in the finals. Raptors and the Sixers, narrowly but surely, the Raptors avoided a sweep on Saturday. So it's now 3-1. But we'll see. Joel Embiid's done his part. Likely the MVP. Tyrese Maxey has done well as well. Tobias Harris, here and there. But James Harden needs to be better. James Harden, the first few games, he did really well for Sixers coming from the trade from the Brooklyn Nets. And now he's just. If the 76ers want to make a deep run and get to the finals and possibly more, James Harden needs to be better. Just needs to be. Can't explain that more. Although, credit to the Raptors who have been fighting hard. Siakam, he's done really well. Van Fleet has been hurt. Shy Barnes, he had a great effort and returning on Saturday night. But yeah, I mean, looks to be 76ers going on. Milwaukee Bucks and Chicago Bulls. This, besides this series and the Nets Celtics series have been the two most disappointing, I would say, first round series. You know, I mean, you could say the Hawks and Heat as well, but the rest of the Hawks players are continuing to fight hard, and Trae Young's just been not well. But yeah, I mean, game one was great between the Bucks and the Bulls. Game two, DeMar DeRozan was on fire with 41 points, and Bulls took that one. Game three, okay, no Chris Middleton, didn't matter for the Bucks. Same for game four. I mean, it's disappointing for the Chicago Bulls. I mean, we know how good the Bucks are, but for the Chicago Bulls, I mean, just disappointing. Now, Levine's done well. You know, I do think if Lonzo was healthy for the series, I think it'd be a little different. But it's unfortunate for the Bulls. I mean, they were the number one seed in the middle of the season, and then they just went downhill. They just went downhill. But yeah. And now the Nets and Celtics, you know, Celtics are currently up 3-1, or 3-zip, excuse me. But, you know, Kevin Durant's underperformed. Kyrie Irving, you know, he's played well, but he, to an extent, has underperformed. I mean, you could look at it after their playing game for the Cavs. Well, their biggest question is who is the third man to really get production from? Now, Bruce Brown had a heck of a game. He's come on better in this series, but to be a consistent third guy when Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are not having great. I mean, whether it's Brown, Curry, Ben Simmons. I don't want that decision is just puzzling. Ben Simmons, just shaking my head on Ben Simmons. You know, Blake Griffin, Andre Drummond, someone's gotta be their consistent third man. No one's been that consistent, but we'll see how they can turn around. Otherwise, they'll get swept. They'll get swept. What a turnaround it's been for the Suns and Falcons. I mean, what a turnaround. You know, game one, Chris Paul had a great showing in the fourth quarter. Game two, Devin Booker has 31 points at half, but the Pelicans are keeping it close. And then all of a sudden, Booker injures hamstring, and then just like that, the Pelicans take game two. Game three, Chris Paul had another great fourth quarter showing, and they took that one. And then recently, yesterday, game four in New Orleans, Pelicans tie up by courtesy of Young Guns Brandon Ingram, Valanciunas, Alvarado. I mean, it's an exciting series. It's exciting, and with Devin Booker not being out, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. But if the Suns do somehow lose this series, it would be a massive disappointment. I mean, just where they were coming in and how good Devin Booker was playing. And now the fact that they could be on the way out in the first round is just crazy. But I mean, Brandon Ingram's really showed me something this series. I mean, we knew he's good, but on a broader stage, and he is not disappointed in this series one bit. So great to see for him. You know, I mentioned the Nuggets not getting swept. Yesterday in a thriller, they beat the, or this weekend, they beat the Warriors in a flurry. And, you know, 5-point game. Joker has done well, but the problem is his supporting cast has not really helped him. And I mean, they've been in this position before, 3-1. But now they don't have Jamal Murray. And it's going to be strange. It's going to be strange. But, Warriors could go anywhere. They could go to West Conference Finals. They could go to finals. They could win the finals. That team is deep and it's crazy. Crazy as well. The Jazz Maverick series up 2-apiece. Despite Luka's return in Game 4, he had 30 points. Jazz survive in a thriller 100-99. I mean, Jalen Brunson is going to get paid. Jalen Brunson is going to get paid at the end of the season. He's done very well, very well. But I mean, with Luka now healthy, it's an interesting dynamic now. So we'll see as they go back to Utah. Because I picked the Jazz, but I didn't know about Luka's health. Now he's back. Different animal. And then last but certainly not least of the series, the Grizzlies and the Minnesota Timberwolves. 2 apiece. I mean, I think this is how we expected it to go, ultimately. Because the Grizzlies, John Morant's a star. Superstar. Although as of late his numbers have declined in points, but his impact, I would say, is still on the team. And Jared Jackson Jr., Steven Adams, I mean, Dylan Brooks, they got a hell of a roster. And Taylor Jenkins deserves to be and running for Coach of the Year. But they're a very young team. and so is the Timberwolves. And the Timberwolves, they're a 7th seed. They got nothing to lose. And, Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, he has thrived. D'Angelo Russell, who's been up and down. Patrick Beverley, has been a stud. You know, it's going to be one heck of a finish in this series. And you can't wait. But, yeah, those are my thoughts on the NBA playoffs thus far. And one more topic I got to get in before we end this, but Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King. Don't talk about boxing a lot on this podcast, but when I do, it's been meaningful. And Tyson Fury, in defense of his title this weekend, knocked out Dillian White in the 6th round and could potentially be his last fight. His last boxing fight. Now, Francis Ngannou, the UFC heavyweight champion, he was in the ring and he talked about the idea of them duking out to see who the baddest of the baddest is, or as far as heavyweight goes. That would be an attraction. But Tyson Fury's had a bunch of great moments. I mean, against Deontay Wilder. I mean, I'm upset that we didn't get him for Anthony Joshua. But I mean, things happen. But yeah, nonetheless, great for Fury, and if it is his last boxing fight, it's been a hell of a career. But nonetheless, that's the end of the podcast for you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Also, congrats to Miguel Cabrera. 3,000 hits, 9th ever to do it. Good job for him. But yeah, nonetheless, thank you all for joining me. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Click the description for more videos. Find when I'm active on the channel. But be safe. It's been very windy the last couple of days, so hopefully it dies down. But thank you all. I'm Ajoe21love, getting out of here. Peace. See you next week.